for requesting to remove my thesis partner from our research, which may cause her not to graduate. So I am in a college course with only 8 people, so we're all pretty close. For our thesis, we were assigned to work in pairs, and I got partnered with a woman I've already worked with several school projects before. She tends to do things last minute, but she usually does them, so I wasn't thrilled but figured we'd manage. That changed quickly. We both work night shifts, but she also has a kid. I get that, and I've really tried to be understanding, but I still managed to interview her 3 times over 3 months, while she was constantly unavailable. When it came time to transcribe the interviews, each an hour long, we split the work, but she didn't do any of hers. I ended up doing all of it just to keep us from falling behind. Then came encoding, which is the most tedious and time-consuming part of our paper. We split the work again, and for almost a month, I kept bugging her and messaging her to finish her part, and she never did. I eventually gave up and just did the whole thing myself. I told our advisor, and they made her pay for the subscription to the software we were using as compensation. But that was the only thing she contributed. Still trying to be fair, I asked her to handle our thesis defense presentation and script instead, but on the day of the defense, the presentation was unfinished, and I had to fix it myself right there in the room. She arrived 1.5 hours late, and the script she gave only covered 20 pages for a 45-plus slide deck. After the defense, we were told to redo the encoding and rewrite chapters 3 and 4 separately so we could compare and combine. I started mine right away. She still hasn't done anything. I've been consistently messaging her to ask for updates, to follow up on her encoding, her write-up, and I just got, "Yeah, I'll do it," but still nothing. And I constantly see her active on Facebook and posting stories. Finally, I asked our advisor if I could submit the thesis under my name only, which would mean she won't graduate. Now people are telling me I'm being too harsh and should just carry her one last time, but I honestly feel like I've carried her through the entire thing already. For doing this, even if it might cost her graduation?
Okay, let's be real. This isn't just slacking off. This is full-on ghosting your responsibilities. You gave her months of chances. You picked up her slack over and over. You even assigned her the one thing she could have handled, just the presentation. And she still dropped the ball on the day of the defense. At this point, it's not a partnership. It's a one-person thesis with someone else's name on it. And now people are telling you you're being too harsh? No. She didn't just put her graduation at risk. She put yours on the line too. You didn't ask to carry anyone. You tried to collaborate. You bent over backwards to be fair. And when someone gives you nothing to work with, eventually, you have to stop being understanding and start protecting your own future. So no, you're not the villain here. You're just finally choosing yourself. And you should.
For refusing to wash a huge pile of dishes at my FWB's house, I stayed over at my FWB's house, and in the morning, I woke up to him in the kitchen making breakfast and cooking dinner for himself and his kids. He has them later today. The breakfast was pasta and bolognese warmed up from previous nights. After cooking, he said something along the lines of, "Since I've done all this, can you wash up the plates?" The thing is, the dishes were a massive pile, stuff left behind by him and other people staying at the house over time. None of it was mine. What bothered me most was how he positioned it, as if he'd done something special for me, and now I owed him something in return. I pointed out that he wasn't cooking for me. The dinner was for his kids and himself, and breakfast was leftovers. I told him not to frame it like he did all this for me, when that wasn't the case. If he had just said, "Hey, since you've got the day off, could you help me with the dishes?" I might have actually considered helping, but the way he framed it rubbed me the wrong way. He then started calling me a whingy bee etc. For what it's worth, I would never expect someone to wash dishes in my house, especially not a guest, especially not messes they didn't make. So, for pushing back? Okay, let's talk about this for a second. So you stay over at someone's house, they cook food for themselves, and then expect you to clean a mountain of dishes that you didn't even use? And not just ask, but frame it like they were doing something for you, like you owe them? Nah, that's manipulation wrapped in a favor. Here's the thing, it's not about refusing to help. It's about the entitlement and the attitude. If he had just asked politely and been honest, sure, maybe you would have helped. But trying to guilt trip you into doing chores, then flipping out and calling you names when you push back? That's a red flag. Also, who makes pasta and bolognese for breakfast and acts like it's some gourmet gesture? Come on, man. Face with tears of joy. You're not a maid. You're not a servant. You're a guest. And honestly, good on you for standing your ground. Girlfriend got massive tattoo for me. I've been with my girlfriend for almost a year. I've always made sure she knew that I wanted to take things very slow, and I didn't want anything too serious right now. I've only been divorced for a year and I have primary custody of my kids, 2 and 4, so they are and have always been my priority. I can't stress how clear I was about keeping our relationship casual. Anyways, I have a lot of tattoos. I won't pretend like they're all super meaningful, but most of the bigger pieces are related to my hobbies, friends, family, random shit I'm into. My girlfriend only had the tiniest tattoo on her ankle. I was away last week doing the Vegas bachelor party / road trip thing, and she texts me that she has a surprise for me. me and sends me a pic of the tattoo. It is a tree that starts at where ass meets leg, not sure of the name for that, and ending on the back of her neck. The branches have shitty tattoos that are copies of many of mine. A few in particular piss me off. One is a copy of a tattoo my buddies and I got done to commemorate a friend that died. Another is very similar to one of mine that was inspired by a drawing my kid did. I showed it to my friends and they all think she is fucking crazy. Her explanation is just that she liked my tattoos, so she wanted to get similar ones but in her own design, and she did it to honor me. She said she got it for me. She went to a shitty artist, so it looks pretty bad and the design isn't too great in itself, which I think defeats the purpose of honoring someone, and they mean literally nothing to her. Between her copying my tattoos and having a genuinely shitty tattoo covering her entire backside, I really don't find her sexy anymore. It is a huge mood killer. She was my dream girl in bed, so without that there isn't much left. I'm starting to consider just breaking up with her because what she did seems so insane. On the other hand, we've been dating for almost a year and I am really into her, and she now has this giant tattoo that's honoring me, so breaking up would suck. Opinions? Girlfriend got huge back piece that is a copy of many of my tattoos in an attempt to honor me, but I just find it to be a big turn off. Update post from user May 6th, 2016, 9 days later. First post was removed, but it was about how my girlfriend got a tattoo of a tree and on the branches were copies of some of my tattoos, a couple that were very personal. Memorial piece for a friend and drawing by my kid. I thought I had been very clear about not wanting anything serious. Quick update. We broke up. I tried to stick it out, but the tattoo was too much of a turn off and I just didn't find her attractive anymore, which is the opposite of what she had intended with it. The breakup went about as expected. She completely lost it, and yes, she was mad because she thought it would lead to something more serious eventually. My artist agreed to finish the piece for her and he will cover up the bits that match my tattoos. It should be very easy since there wasn't any shading yet. I'm glad she agreed to see him because now her tattoo has a chance of looking decent and I can be certain that it will be properly covered up. I tried to get her to explain to me why she thought it was a good idea, but all she kept saying was that she truly believed I would like it and she thought it would help move our relationship to the next level. I told her she should see a therapist and she told me to fuck off. So there you have it. We broke up and she's getting the pieces that match mine covered with more leaves. For insisting my friend bored her dog. I agreed to take care of my coworker slash friend's older dog, 10 years, while she was on vacation for the week. I originally thought I'd be checking up on her before slash after work, walking her, feeding her, the typical dog watching duties. She paid me $200 for the whole week, which is about $28 per day. I charge about $26/20-minute drop in cat sitting visits through Meowtel, so I thought it was fair initially. She left me 8 pages, front and back, of instructions for her dog, wants me to stay overnight with her and pick her up to put her in the bed with me, and freaked out when I told her I had plans for my day off and would be leaving her for a few hours. While I was at work yesterday, she pulled the trim off the door, chewed some of the paint from around the handles, and started to chew on the drywall. Today when I got back from work, she had started to eat and rip out insulation, chewed up and rip out even more drywall, and started to chew through an electrical wire. She's in another country 8 hours ahead, but would I be overreacting if I insisted she board her dog for the remainder of her trip? I cannot put my life on hold to supervise her pup 24/7, and above that, I can't stand the thought of her dog getting seriously injured or causing any more property damage. What do I say? How do I proceed? I don't have the PTO to call of work, and I'm certainly not getting paid fairly for the extent of this dog sitting situation.
So you signed up to walk a dog, not to have your house turned into a construction site. 8 pages of instructions, chewing drywall, wires, for $28 a day? No way. This isn't dog sitting anymore. It's damage control. You're not overreacting. Boarding the dog is the safest, smartest move at this point.
I think my boyfriend is exaggerating or faking his illness. Saw someone's post yesterday about navigating life with a partner who has fibromyalgia and felt inspired to post here. I'm hoping y'all can give me some solid advice. I have been with my boyfriend for a little under 2 years. In the time we've been together, his chronic pain, which isn't connected to any particular / known condition as he refuses to go to the doctor, has gotten worse and worse. It's reached a point where he's almost incapable of doing chores or house projects, is usually too exhausted / in pain to make or agree to plans, and getting him to do anything outside of the house together is like pulling teeth. His objections always revolve around his pain and fatigue. I've never suffered from chronic pain, and thank God, so I'm not one to judge or accuse someone of making it up, since the pain itself is invisible and my boyfriend looks perfectly healthy. But he's now been unemployed for about 4 months, and I'm starting to question things. I'm starting to feel doubtful for a number of reasons, and the main ones are that A, He never turns down his friends' invitations to hang out, even when the activity is something physically intense like kayaking, or going hiking, or going to a music festival. And B, he is never too tired/in too much pain to have sex. Over time it's almost made it seem like he's conveniently in an unbearable amount of pain when he has to do something he isn't all that interested in, i.e. chores, and I'm starting to feel hurt that he just doesn't seem to want to hang out with me outside of what we do lazing around the house. I've never accused him of faking or exaggerating his pain, but I have tried to talk to him about doing more fun stuff together, and it always circles back to his pain or him accusing me of trying to keep him from spending time with his friends, which I'm not trying to do by any means. I've done a ton of research into autoimmune disorders and other conditions that could be causing his problem, always bringing my findings and suggestions to him, but he just doesn't believe a doctor or any traditional medicine will help him. I'm also bothered because when we go to family outings or parties that we're both invited to, it's rare, but it does happen, he will talk anyone who will listen's ear off about how bad his chronic pain is and how frustrating it is to not be able to find a solution. The thing is, he's not actually looking for a solution. He just smokes weed every day and calls that good enough while lamenting and complaining that his body is the way that it is. He also refuses to return to work because of his pain. For additional context, he seems to have really extreme muscle spasms/tightness, particularly in his back. I'm happy to support him through hard times, but the fact that he won't work is getting concerning and I feel severely stuck. I'm not interested in supporting him financially on a long-standing basis, but at the moment I partially am by covering some of his expenses. If this post makes me a total asshole for questioning the degree of my boyfriend's chronic pain, so be it. I just need help and answers. So, here are my questions. Where do I go from here? Do you think it's possible that my boyfriend is using his pain as a crutch? Should I put some kind of ultimatum in place that will get him medical care/attention? Your advice is appreciated. My boyfriend's chronic pain is highly questionable, and I'm not sure how I can motivate him to get better. I'm worried I may just be getting taken advantage of at this point. I lied to the people who I was babysitting for to get them to come home. I am 15 years old, and I babysit to make money. I took a first aid course and a babysitting course. Last weekend, one of my little sister's classmates' parents had a wedding to go to and asked if I would babysit. I asked how late they would need me, and if I should pack an overnight bag if they were going to be staying out all night. They said that they would be home by midnight, so I checked with my dad if that was okay because he is my ride. He doesn't want me alone in a car with adults that he does not know, so my dad was there to pick me up at 11:50. The kids were all asleep and I was watching TV. I had texted them at 11 o'clock to double that they would be in time. The mom texted me back, yes. 12:30 they still aren't there. I texted again, no answer. I called my dad and he is pissed. Not at me. 1 o'clock. I call them, no answer. My dad went and got a coffee at home and came back. He is all calm. Not good. He is ready to blow. I texted every 15 minutes. No response. 2:20 I have an idea. I texted them that someone tried to break into their garage, but that the alarm scared them away. They were home drunk in an Uber in 15 minutes. My dad made their pay me for my extra time before we left. He told me that I'm not allowed to babysit for them again unless I charged them for an overnight stay. Yesterday at school I saw the mom when I was picking up my sisters after school. She gave me shit for scaring her and her husband, that they had checked their security cameras and no one tried to break in. I said sorry the alarm went off so I called you. She called me a liar, which is fair, but I don't feel bad about what I did. They lied to me first. My mom says I should have just sucked it up, but my dad says that they broke our deal. I kind of feel bad for tricking them into coming home from their party, but they could have told me it was an overnight or texted me that they were going to be late. My dad has brought me an overnight bag before when that has happened. Edit. My mom wanted me to call the police to see if they had been in an accident, but I thought that if they were still at the wedding it would cause a scene.
So you're 15, babysitting responsibly, texting updates, and the parents just ghost you for hours? That's not just rude, that's straight up dangerous. You didn't lie to be petty. You lied because they weren't answering and left you stranded with sleeping kids at 2 a.m. If anything, you saved them from an angry dad and a real emergency. Actions have consequences, and they broke the deal first.
For telling my friend I don't want to end up like her after she told me to lower my standards? I met Rachel 3 years ago in university and we became friends. For context, I have never dated before and I am okay with that. I don't purposefully seek out relationship and I am comfortable being by myself. I have a few close friends and this is enough for me. In contrast, Rachel has had a lot of boyfriends and doesn't like to be single. Her words. She met her husband, Max, 2 years ago in one of the uni classes and they quickly began dating. He isn't the most pleasant guy to be around emo, and they had quite a few big arguments during the relationship. He even tried to flirt with me, and I told Rachel about it, but she dismissed it saying he was probably just trying to butter me up so I help him with homework. He has told some sexist jokes in the past too. Whenever they fought, I always told Rachel she deserves better and to break up with him, but in the end they always made up. He proposed to her after 1 year, and they got married 4 4 months ago. However, after they moved in together in the flat that Rachel's parents pay the rent for, Max became even worse. He never helps out with cleaning or cooking, doesn't really take Rachel out on dates anymore, and whenever she tries to talk to him about it, Max tells her to stop complaining about wife's duties. So, a few days ago Rachel asked me if I would like to go on a date with one of her friends from high school who is single and is looking for a relationship. I've never been on a date before, so I agreed out of curiosity. We went to a nice restaurant. The guy never asked me a single question about myself back, and after I got tired of coming up with questions about him, we just sat the rest of the meal in awkward silence. We split the bill, and after he walked me to the subway station, he tried to kiss me. I declined as politely as I could and went home. The next day I met up with Rachel. Apparently she's already heard about how the date went from her friend. She asked me why I rejected him. I told her the reasons I mentioned before, and that I didn't really like the guy. Then she rolled her eyes and said that I need to lower my standards because I'm honestly not that attractive, that I blew maybe my only chance to date, and if I continue like that I'll end up forever alone. Even though she knows I'm fine without a relationship. Also, I'm not insecure about my appearance, but hearing my friends say that about me hurt. I got angry and said better to be forever alone than end up like you, with a husband that doesn't respect me. She started crying and said that I'm being rude when she's just trying to look out for me, and then left. We haven't texted or spoken since. Honestly, I'm not sure if I want to salvage this friendship after finding out this is how Rachel felt about me all this time. However, I feel guilty for saying this to her when I knew it was a sore spot, and also for kinda blaming her for the fact that her husband is awful. So, in this situation?
Phew, this one got heavy fast. So let me get this straight. You go on a date as a favor to your friend, the guy barely makes conversation, and then your friend has the nerve to tell you you're not that attractive and should just settle? Nah, that's not someone who's looking out for you. That's someone projecting their own unhappiness onto you. And then when you clap back with some truth about her marriage, suddenly you're the rude one? Look, was it a bit harsh? Yeah, sure, but it didn't come out of nowhere. You were provoked, cornered, and insulted. Let's be honest, she dismissed your boundaries, insulted your self-worth, and completely ignored the fact that you're fine being single. That's not support. That's insecurity dressed up as concern. You don't owe anyone your energy just because you've known them for a while. If someone sees your peace as a threat to their chaos, that's on them, not you.